As the sun sets over the hills of Jerusalem and the winds sweep across the deserts of Judea, we are reminded that the story of the Bible is far from finished. The ruins, the scrolls, the walls, they are not silent. They speak to anyone willing to listen, offering glimpses of civilizations that rose and fell, of people who struggled, believed, and dreamed. Each artifact is more than an object. It is a bridge across time, a connection between past and present, between human ambition and divine inspiration. The journey through biblical archaeology does not simply uncover what once was. It challenges us to reflect on who we are, how we understand faith, and how history shapes our world today. It is a reminder that the lands described in Scripture are living witnesses, still holding secrets that may change what we know, or what we think we know. Every dig, every scroll, every ruined city is an invitation to explore, to question, and to marvel at the complexity of human experience. In the end, biblical archaeology is more than science, more than faith, more than history. It is a dialogue, a timeless conversation between earth and heaven, between what is written and what is real. And as long as we continue to search, to listen, and to wonder, that dialogue will never end. The stones still speak, the sands still remember, and the journey to uncover the truth, to understand the stories etched into the land itself, has only just begun. The Bible has been called many things over the centuries: a book of faith, a guide for moral living, a collection of sacred stories. Yet beyond its spiritual power, it also serves as a map. Not a map drawn in ink on parchment, but one woven into the very landscapes of the Middle East, mountains, deserts, valleys, and rivers that still carry traces of events written thousands of years ago. To hold the Bible in your hands is, in many ways, to hold a key to the world's oldest memory. But the question has always lingered: how much of this memory is history, and how much is belief? When we turn its pages, we encounter places as vivid as any modern city. Jericho, where walls are said to have fallen with the sound of trumpets. Jerusalem, the city of kings, prophets, and empires. Bethlehem, a small town that would become the center of the world's most celebrated birth. The names are familiar, but what lies beneath them is even more compelling. Because for centuries, these weren't just words. They were destinations. Pilgrims crossed deserts and seas to stand on the same soil, to touch the same stones, to feel connected to the story of creation, exodus, and redemption. Archaeology steps in where memory begins to blur. While Scripture tells us what happened, the earth often tells us if it happened. The Bible describes the grandeur of Solomon's temple. Archaeology reveals the fragments of walls, foundations, and artifacts that suggest such a structure did once dominate Jerusalem's skyline. The Bible speaks of great empires, Egyptians, Assyrians, Babylonians, that rose and fell around Israel. Archaeology uncovers their palaces, their battle records carved into stone, and even their trade routes stretching across continents. Suddenly, the Bible is no longer just a spiritual compass. It becomes a record stitched into human history. But this union of text and soil is not without mystery. Sometimes discoveries affirm what Scripture describes. Sometimes they challenge it. And often, they raise more questions than answers. At Jericho, archaeologists uncovered collapsed walls, layers of destruction, and signs of sudden abandonment. Was this the city brought down by Joshua's army, as the Bible records? Or was it destroyed centuries earlier in a battle lost to time? The soil speaks, but it does not always speak clearly. That uncertainty is exactly what makes biblical archaeology so powerful. Every dig, every shard of pottery, every inscription fuels a global conversation. For believers, each find can feel like confirmation, an anchor that ties faith to the ground beneath their feet. For historians, it is a treasure hunt for context, helping us understand not just what happened, but how people lived, traded, worshipped, and dreamed. And for skeptics, it is evidence to be weighed, a reminder that history and myth often walk side by side. What makes the Bible unique among ancient texts is its reach. While many civilizations left stories carved into stone or written on clay tablets, the Bible became a living document. It traveled across languages, borders, and centuries, shaping laws, inspiring art, and guiding billions. Yet, at its core, it is still a story set in a very specific land: the hills of Judea. The waters of Galilee, the deserts of Sinai. Each of these places still exists, silent witnesses to the events written down by ancient hands. Take the Dead Sea, for example. Today, it is a place of stark beauty, a salt lake surrounded by barren desert. Yet hidden in its caves, shepherds once stumbled upon scrolls, fragments of the Hebrew Bible written more than 2,000 years ago. These Dead Sea Scrolls are among the most important archaeological finds of the 20th century, offering a bridge between the sacred text we read today and the words that were read in ancient synagogues long before modern times. They remind us that the Bible was not just passed down through faith, it was copied, preserved, and treasured by real people living in real places. And so, biblical archaeology is more than digging for ruins. It is about listening to the land. It is about standing in the shadow of ruined temples, feeling the worn steps on stone roads, and imagining the voices of those who once walked there. It is about connecting the sacred with the tangible, bringing together what is written in holy text with what is hidden beneath layers of dust and time. But why does this matter today? Because in a world where faith and fact often collide, biblical archaeology offers a rare meeting point. It does not seek to prove belief right or wrong. Instead, it opens a window into the past, showing us that the people of the Bible lived in the same struggles, hopes, and fears that we face now. They built, they fought, they prayed, and they left behind traces of their existence. The Bible as a map is not about directions to a destination. It is about directions to understanding. To walk its lands is to step into history's greatest stage, where empires clashed, prophets spoke, and humanity wrestled with the divine. And to study its archaeology is to realize that these aren't just stories told in the dark. They are stories etched in the stones, waiting for us to uncover them. This is why the journey into biblical archaeology is so captivating. It is not simply about digging for relics. It is about rediscovering ourselves, our roots, and the questions that still echo across centuries. Because in the end, the Bible is not only a book to be read, it is a world to be explored. Some cities are more than just places on a map. They are living stories, echoes of human ambition, faith, and struggle. In the lands described by the Bible, every stone has a story, every ruin a memory. Among them, few are as fascinating as the ancient cities whose names we know from Scripture: Jericho, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Megiddo, and yet, the truth buried beneath their layers of earth is far more complex than the tales we have inherited. Jericho, often called the oldest city in the world, is a place where legend and archaeology collide. The Bible describes walls that fell at the sound of trumpets, a miraculous victory for Joshua and the Israelites. Archaeologists have uncovered evidence of collapsed walls, ash layers, and signs of destruction that date back thousands of years. Yet the timing is debated. Did the walls fall exactly as the story says, or does the archaeological record tell a slightly different tale? This tension between myth and evidence creates fascination, forcing us to reconsider what we think we know about history. It is the kind of mystery that captures the imagination, making us want to explore deeper. Jerusalem is perhaps the most studied, yet enigmatic city of them all. Its stones have witnessed the rise of kings, the exile of peoples, the building and destruction of temples. Excavations in the old city have revealed massive fortifications, ancient streets, and fragments of walls from the time of Solomon and later rulers. Each discovery adds a piece to the puzzle, showing us how the city grew, how it was defended, and how faith shaped its architecture. The city's importance is not only spiritual but political and cultural, a crossroads where empires met, clashed, and sometimes coexisted. Walking its streets today, one can feel the layers of history pressing down, reminding us that Jerusalem has always been more than a city. It is a witness. Bethlehem, smaller and quieter, holds a different kind of mystery. Known as the birthplace of one of the most influential figures in history, it was a town of shepherds and travelers, of hills and caves. Archaeologists have discovered ancient homes, tombs, and cisterns, showing a settlement that existed long before it became a symbol in religious tradition. These discoveries do not diminish its significance. Instead, they make the story tangible, anchoring centuries of belief in the reality of everyday life in a small, living community. Then there is Megiddo, known as Armageddon in later texts. It was a strategic city controlling trade routes and military paths through the region. Excavations have revealed layers upon layers of civilizations, each built atop the other. The city's history stretches back thousands of years, and each stratum tells a story of power, conquest, and resilience. Megiddo demonstrates how geography and human ambition intersect, shaping history in ways that Scripture only hints at. These cities also reveal the human side of biblical stories. Archaeology shows that these were not idealized, empty landscapes where miracles simply happened. They were places of everyday life, markets, homes, workshops, and streets where people lived, worked, and struggled. Pottery shards, ancient coins, and inscriptions speak of commerce, governance, and daily routines. They remind us that the people of the Bible were real, and their cities were vibrant, dynamic, and sometimes vulnerable to the forces of nature and human ambition alike. The mystery deepens because not every story can be neatly confirmed. Some sites remain elusive, their exact locations lost to time. Others yield artifacts that challenge conventional timelines, forcing historians and theologians to rethink accepted narratives. This uncertainty does not diminish the city's importance. Rather, it heightens it. Every excavation becomes a journey into the unknown, a chance to uncover something that could reshape our understanding of history. What makes these ancient cities particularly compelling is their endurance. Despite wars, invasions, earthquakes, and centuries of neglect, the foundations remain. Stone streets, city walls, and temple remains are more than architectural feats. They are silent witnesses to human ambition, devotion, and resilience. The cities may change, but their essence, the stories, the struggles, the hopes, remains etched in the landscape. These discoveries also remind us of the connection between past and present. Modern cities in the region rise near ancient ones, often built on the very ruins that archaeologists study. Pilgrims, tourists, and locals walk the same paths trodden by prophets and kings, bridging millennia in a single step. Each site tells a story not only about the past, but also about how history continues to shape culture, identity, and belief today. Ultimately, the mystery of these ancient cities is not just about walls and ruins. It is about perspective. It is about seeing the human experience beneath the myth, understanding that Scripture and archaeology together create a richer, more nuanced story. These cities are living history books, written in stone and soil, waiting for us to read, interpret, and reflect. They challenge us to imagine the lives of those who came before, to consider the ambitions, fears, and faith that guided them. In the end, these ancient cities captivate because they are more than ruins. They are portals into the world of the Bible, connecting legend and reality. They remind us that history is never static, and every discovery brings us closer to the people, places, and events that shaped humanity's story. Standing among these stones, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe, curiosity, and reverence. A reminder that the cities of the Bible are not just part of the past, but part of a living conversation between history and faith. Beneath the sands, under layers of soil, and hidden within caves and ancient ruins, the secrets of the Bible lie waiting. Archaeology is the tool that brings these secrets to light. Every brush stroke on a buried stone, every careful excavation, and every ancient fragment tells a story that connects us to people who lived thousands of years ago. These discoveries do more than confirm events. They reveal how entire societies lived, what they valued, and how their worlds intersected with the sacred narratives that have shaped human history. The Dead Sea Scrolls are perhaps the most famous example. Discovered in desert caves nearly 70 years ago, these fragile parchments contain texts from the Hebrew Bible written over 2,000 years ago. Scholars quickly realized the significance. Here were the oldest known versions of scriptures that millions still read today. The scrolls offered new insights into religious practices, daily life, and even political tensions of the time. They showed that the sacred text was not a single, unchanging work, but a living document, copied, preserved, and interpreted by generations. This discovery alone reminded the world that beneath the deserts and rocks, history waits quietly for those who know how to read it. But the treasures of biblical archaeology go far beyond scrolls. Archaeologists have uncovered inscriptions carved into stone, detailing the deeds of kings, the outcomes of battles, and even treaties between empires. Inscriptions found in Israel and surrounding regions reference places, people, and events mentioned in Scripture, creating tangible links between words on a page and actions in the real world. These artifacts help historians piece together timelines, understand cultures, and see the Bible not only as a spiritual text, but also as a guide to understanding the societies that shaped it. Pottery shards may seem ordinary at first glance, yet they hold stories that illuminate ancient daily life. From simple cooking pots to finely decorated vessels, these artifacts reveal trade networks, dietary habits, and artistic traditions. Coins similarly offer a glimpse into economies, leadership, and politics. When archaeologists uncover a coin from a king mentioned in the Bible, it is not just metal. It is a bridge across time, a confirmation that the stories are grounded in reality. Even the layout of ancient cities offers hidden truths. Streets, walls, and foundations tell us how people lived and how cities were organized. In Jerusalem, for example, excavations have revealed streets that connected marketplaces to temples, demonstrating the flow of life and commerce. In Megiddo, multiple layers of civilization show how cities were rebuilt over centuries, reflecting both resilience and change. These details make the ancient world tangible, helping us imagine the footsteps of those who lived it. The merchants, soldiers, priests, and everyday citizens. Archaeology also uncovers mysteries that challenge expectations. Sometimes a site reveals structures or artifacts that differ from traditional interpretations of Scripture. A temple may appear smaller or larger than described. A city may show evidence of destruction at a different time. Or an inscription may refer to a king whose name is unfamiliar in historical texts. These findings are not contradictions. They are invitations to look closer, to think critically, and to understand that history is rarely simple. Every artifact becomes a conversation starter, a clue in a larger puzzle that connects faith, culture, and human experience. One of the most remarkable aspects of biblical archaeology is its ability to make the distant past feel immediate. Standing in a cave where scrolls were hidden, or on a street paved by kings long gone, it is easy to imagine the lives of the people who once inhabited these spaces. Archaeology gives voice to the silent. It transforms shards of pottery, broken walls, and weathered inscriptions into stories of human ambition, devotion, and survival. Each dig, no matter how small, has the power to reveal the extraordinary in the ordinary. This work also has a global impact. Archaeological discoveries inspire curiosity, scholarship, and pilgrimage. Museums around the world display artifacts that draw millions of visitors eager to connect with history. Students, historians, and enthusiasts study these finds, tracing connections between ancient civilizations and modern life. Pilgrims travel to sites like the Pool of Siloam or the ancient synagogues of Galilee, walking the same paths described in sacred texts. In this way, archaeology does more than uncover objects. It creates a bridge between past and present, between the written word and lived experience. Perhaps most importantly, unearthing hidden truths challenges us to reflect on our own stories. Just as archaeologists piece together fragments to understand the past, we examine our own lives to understand who we are and where we come from. Biblical archaeology reminds us that history is not distant or abstract. It is a living conversation between human experience, belief, and memory. Every discovery invites reflection, curiosity, and wonder. In the end, the hidden truths of biblical archaeology are more than academic. They are a testament to human persistence, the enduring power of faith, and the stories that have survived through millennia. Each artifact, each ruin, each scroll is a whisper from the past, waiting to be heard, understood, and cherished. And as long as the earth continues to guard its secrets, archaeology will continue to reveal the remarkable world behind the pages of the Bible, drawing us into a journey that is as much about discovery as it is about understanding ourselves. The influence of biblical archaeology reaches far beyond the boundaries of the Middle East. Each discovery resonates across the globe, shaping how millions of people understand history, faith, and culture. From classrooms to museums, from academic research to the journeys of pilgrims, The echoes of ancient cities and artifacts are felt in ways that continue to shape our modern world. This global impact is not only measured in the treasures unearthed, but in the conversations, debates, and reflections they inspire. Consider the sheer scale of archaeological work connected to biblical history. Over 25,000 sites across Israel, Jordan, Egypt, and surrounding regions hold artifacts and ruins tied to Scripture. Each site represents a story waiting to be uncovered: a city street, a temple foundation, a burial cave. These numbers are staggering, but they also remind us that history is not a series of isolated events. It is a network of civilizations, people, and experiences that intersect and influence one another. Through archaeology, these connections become visible, tangible, and immediate. The discoveries themselves draw an extraordinary number of visitors from around the world. Pilgrims walk the same streets described in the Bible, standing where prophets once spoke, kings once ruled, and ordinary people lived their daily lives. Millions travel to Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Nazareth, and other key sites, hoping to experience history firsthand. Archaeology turns these locations into bridges between past and present, allowing people to connect with events that happened thousands of years ago. The same stones that were once walked upon by ancient civilizations now hold the footsteps of modern explorers and seekers of knowledge. Beyond physical travel, the impact spreads through education and scholarship. Universities and research institutions around the world study the artifacts and ruins, analyzing inscriptions, pottery, coins, and architecture to understand the societies that produced them. These studies help reconstruct timelines, clarify historical events, and provide context to the stories told in Scripture. Each excavation produces new material for scholars, ensuring that biblical archaeology remains a dynamic and evolving field. It is a discipline that constantly challenges assumptions, reshapes narratives, and pushes us to reconsider the relationship between text and history. Museums play an equally important role in this global reach. Artifacts from biblical sites are displayed in collections across continents, from the Middle East to Europe, North America, and beyond. Visitors encounter ancient coins, tools, pottery, and scrolls, objects that may seem small but carry immense historical and spiritual weight. They provide a tangible connection to the people and events described in the Bible, reminding us that these stories were lived experiences, not just distant legends. Through exhibitions, archaeology becomes accessible, allowing anyone, anywhere, to witness history firsthand. The global fascination with biblical archaeology is also fueled by media and technology. Documentaries, books, and digital reconstructions bring sites and discoveries to millions of viewers. Satellite imagery, ground-penetrating radar, and 3D modeling allow us to explore ancient cities from our own homes, walking virtual streets of Jerusalem, or descending into hidden caves where scrolls were preserved. This accessibility bridges gaps between continents, making it possible for people who may never set foot in the Middle East to experience the wonder of these discoveries. Archaeology, in this sense, is not just local, it is universal. Economic and cultural impacts are another dimension of this global reach. Archaeological tourism supports local communities, creating opportunities for guides, researchers, and artisans. The preservation of sites ensures that heritage is protected while still being shared with the world. Cultural exchanges emerge as scholars, pilgrims, and tourists meet, discuss, and reflect together, reinforcing the idea that history belongs to everyone, not just the countries where it originated. These sites become meeting points for curiosity, dialogue, and understanding across borders. What makes the global impact of biblical archaeology especially profound is its ability to inspire reflection. People see the ruins of temples, city walls, and ancient homes, and they are reminded that humanity has always faced challenges, sought meaning, and built civilizations. These discoveries encourage us to think not only about the past, but also about the present, about how culture, faith, and human ambition shape our lives today. They invite a deeper understanding of human resilience, creativity, and belief, revealing patterns that connect us across time. Ultimately, the significance of biblical archaeology is not limited to the artifacts themselves. It lies in the stories they tell and the conversations they spark. Every excavation, Every study and every exhibition extends the reach of history across the globe, inviting people to explore, question, and reflect. It reminds us that the lands described in Scripture are not relics of the past alone. They are active participants in the ongoing dialogue between history, faith, and humanity. Through this lens, we see that biblical archaeology is more than a scientific pursuit. It is a shared journey, one that touches lives across continents and generations. It is a reminder that our connection to history is alive, that the past is never truly distant, and that the discoveries buried beneath the earth can illuminate the world for anyone willing to look closely, ask questions, and imagine the lives of those who came before us. Archaeology in the lands of the Bible is more than a search for artifacts. It is a meeting point where faith and history intersect, sometimes harmoniously, sometimes in tension. Every discovery carries the weight of interpretation. To believers, these sites confirm stories passed down for millennia, grounding faith in tangible reality. To historians and scientists, they provide evidence to examine, question, and understand the context of ancient societies. The dialogue between these perspectives creates a dynamic tension, a debate that has lasted for centuries and continues today. Faith gives life to the stones and ruins. Pilgrims visit ancient cities not simply to observe walls and foundations, but to walk the paths described in Scripture. They stand in the same valleys, climb the same hills, and enter the same caves where prophets once spoke and communities once thrived. For them, the Bible is alive in the landscape. The act of exploration becomes a form of devotion, a way to connect past and present, human and divine. Each artifact unearthed, a shard of pottery, a piece of an inscription, or a fragment of a scroll, is more than a historical object. It is a confirmation of belief, a silent witness to stories that shaped civilizations and faith traditions alike. At the same time, history asks questions that cannot be answered by faith alone. Archaeologists approach the land methodically, examining layers of soil, patterns of destruction, and remnants of human activity. They seek evidence of trade routes, architectural styles, and cultural exchanges that might explain the lives of those mentioned in sacred texts. Inscriptions and documents carefully studied reveal political alliances, military campaigns, and social hierarchies. These details provide context, showing how ordinary people lived, how communities governed themselves, and how events unfolded over time. They remind us that Scripture, while sacred, reflects the realities of human experience and the complexity of history. This intersection between faith and history often sparks debate. When a city like Jericho or Megiddo is excavated, scholars examine the evidence, timelines, and layers of destruction. Some findings align closely with biblical narratives, suggesting that stories may have roots in real events. Other discoveries challenge traditional interpretations, showing that timelines or locations may differ from those recorded in Scripture. Such debates do not weaken the significance of the Bible. Rather, they deepen it, inviting us to look more closely, to think critically, and to appreciate the richness of human experience. These discussions are not confined to academic circles. They reach classrooms, media, and public forums around the world. Books, documentaries, and lectures present evidence in ways that engage audiences of all backgrounds. Archaeological discoveries become stories that the public can follow, creating a shared fascination with history and Scripture. People begin to see that faith and reason are not mutually exclusive. Instead, they exist in a delicate balance, each illuminating different aspects of the human journey. The debate also highlights the evolving nature of interpretation. As new technologies emerge, archaeologists can explore previously inaccessible sites. Ground-penetrating radar, 3D mapping, and satellite imaging allow scholars to detect hidden structures beneath modern cities or deserts without disturbing the land. Each technological advance opens new possibilities for discovery, bringing fresh evidence into the conversation and sometimes reshaping what we thought we knew. This constant evolution keeps the study of biblical archaeology vibrant, ensuring that the dialogue between faith and history continues across generations. Yet, beyond evidence and debate lies a human element. Every excavation involves painstaking work, often in harsh conditions. Researchers spend months, even years, carefully uncovering artifacts, brushing away dust, and documenting every find. Their labor connects us to a deeper understanding of the past, but it also reminds us that history is fragile. Civilizations rise and fall, ruins crumble, and stories risk being lost if not preserved. The process of uncovering these treasures teaches patience, perseverance, and respect for the complexity of human life. Archaeology also challenges us personally. Standing in an ancient city, examining inscriptions carved centuries ago, or holding a fragment of pottery that survived fire and flood, viewers are invited to reflect on continuity and change. How do civilizations endure? How do beliefs evolve? How do human choices leave traces that echo far beyond their time? These questions bridge past and present, connecting our own lives to the long arc of history and human experience. Ultimately, the debate between faith and history in biblical archaeology is not about proving one perspective right and the other wrong. It is about understanding the relationship between belief and evidence, between story and fact. Each excavation, each study, and each discovery adds depth to that understanding, revealing the rich complexity of the human story. It reminds us that the lands of the Bible are not just ancient ruins, but living landscapes of memory, devotion, and discovery, where every stone has the potential to inspire reflection, wonder, and curiosity. By observing this delicate balance, audiences are invited to appreciate both perspectives. Faith gives the stories meaning. History gives them context. Together, they create a more complete picture of the people, events, and civilizations that shape the world. And in the end, the dialogue between them becomes more than a debate. It becomes a bridge connecting the human quest for knowledge with the enduring search for meaning. Even as centuries pass, the lands of the Bible continue to speak to those who listen. The ruins of temples, the remnants of walls, the fragments of pottery and inscriptions are more than evidence of past civilizations. They are the dialogue between earth and heaven, a conversation that transcends time. Every archaeological site, every artifact uncovered, carries a story that connects human experience with faith, history, and the mysteries of the divine. It is in this dialogue that biblical archaeology finds its deepest significance. Walking among the ruins of ancient cities, one begins to sense the pulse of history. Streets, once alive with merchants and soldiers, now lie silent. Yet they whisper the ambitions, struggles, and devotion of those who lived there. Temples that once echoed with prayers are now stones in the sun, yet they still convey the human desire to reach beyond oneself, to connect with something larger. In these spaces, the line between the sacred and the ordinary becomes fluid, revealing how human life and divine aspiration have always intertwined. Artifacts, small and often overlooked, carry powerful testimony. A broken jar, a fragment of an inscription, or a worn coin can tell us about trade, governance, and daily life. But they also hint at belief and ritual. When we study them, we uncover more than practical information. We glimpse the values, hopes, and fears of people who existed thousands of years ago. They remind us that history is not merely a record of events, but a collection of lived experiences, where human choices and divine ideals intersect. Some of the most profound examples of this dialogue are found in religious texts that align closely with archaeological evidence. The discovery of ancient synagogues, for instance, reveals the communities that gathered to worship, study, and pass on their traditions. The ruins of temples and altars tell stories of rituals, offerings, and celebrations that shaped social and spiritual life. These physical remnants do not just validate Scripture, they enhance it, providing context that allows us to understand how faith influenced culture, governance, and daily behavior. Yet, the dialogue is not one-sided. Earth, with its layers of soil and stone, holds secrets that challenge our understanding and invite careful reflection. Archaeological evidence can confirm events described in sacred texts, but it can also reveal contradictions, unexpected timelines, or structures that differ from traditional interpretations. These findings do not diminish the stories. Instead, they enrich them, encouraging us to think critically and to appreciate the complexity of history. They remind us that faith and evidence are not enemies. They are partners in a conversation that stretches across time. This interaction between heaven and earth extends beyond the ancient past into the present. Pilgrims and tourists walk the same paths as prophets, kings, and ordinary citizens, experiencing firsthand the landscapes described in Scripture. Museums and exhibitions display artifacts that allow anyone anywhere to witness history in tangible form. Digital reconstructions and interactive media bring buried cities and hidden scrolls to life, bridging distances and centuries. Through these experiences, the dialogue becomes accessible to all, inviting people to see themselves within the continuum of human history and faith. Archaeology also illuminates the continuity of human experience. The struggles, ambitions, and devotion of those in biblical times resonate with our own lives. Societies built, expanded, and fell. Communities celebrated, mourned, and prayed. Leaders made choices that shaped history. In studying these patterns, we recognize that humanity has always wrestled with questions of meaning, purpose, and connection. The ruins and artifacts left behind are not simply remnants. They are reminders of our shared journey. Evidence that the quest to understand the divine, to shape culture, and to leave a mark on the world is timeless. Perhaps most inspiring is the way this dialogue encourages reflection. Each discovery asks us to consider not only what came before, but also how the past continues to influence us. The study of biblical archaeology reveals that sacred texts and physical evidence are intertwined, each giving depth and perspective to the other. They challenge us to see history as a living narrative where the choices, beliefs, and achievements of those who came before continue to shape the present. The stones of ancient cities, the fragments of pottery, the buried inscriptions, all of these speak not only of history but of enduring human aspiration. Ultimately, biblical archaeology demonstrates that earth and heaven are not separate realms. The physical remains of civilizations and the spiritual truths of Scripture engage in an ongoing conversation, one that informs our understanding of humanity and faith. Every excavation, every analysis, every uncovered artifact strengthens this dialogue, connecting us with the past while inspiring contemplation of our own place in the world. Standing in these ancient lands, one cannot help but feel a sense of awe. The dialogue between earth and heaven is subtle, yet unmistakable. It is in the curve of a city wall, the pattern of an inscription, the alignment of a temple, and the stories preserved in Scripture. It reminds us that the search for knowledge, understanding, and meaning is a shared endeavor across time. It encourages us to keep looking, asking, and imagining, recognizing that the lands of the Bible are not just historical sites. They are living classrooms, sacred spaces, and portals into the eternal conversation between humanity and the divine. In the end, biblical archaeology is more than uncovering stones or interpreting texts. It is an invitation to participate in a story that spans millennia. It shows us that history, faith, and human aspiration are inseparable, each enhancing the other. The dialogue between earth and heaven continues, waiting for those willing to listen, explore, and reflect. It is a journey that never truly ends, for as long as the earth preserves its secrets, and as long as humanity seeks understanding, the conversation will go on, carrying with it the lessons, mysteries, and wonders of civilizations long past. For thousands of years, the Bible has been more than a book. It has been a map of human faith, a chronicle of nations, and a source of endless mystery. But what if the stones beneath our feet could speak? What if the ruins buried in the earth still carried the voices of prophets, kings, and empires that shaped the world as we know it? Archaeologists claim Jericho may be the oldest city on earth, walls that legends say once tumbled with the blast of a trumpet. Is this myth or history carved into stone? In the hills of Israel, in the valleys of Jordan, and in the deserts of Egypt, archaeologists dig through layers of time. Pottery shards, tablets, and ruins, each fragment a puzzle piece. Together they weave a story that mirrors the sacred texts of the Bible. But are these discoveries proof of Scripture, or the echoes of civilizations who wrote their own truth? Over 25,000 archaeological sites in the Near East bear connections, direct or indirect, to biblical history. From the Dead Sea Scrolls discovered in desert caves to the Pool of Siloam where, according to Scripture, the blind were given sight. Each finding stirs debate, faith, and wonder. Every unearthed relic draws millions of pilgrims, historians, and skeptics alike, reminding us that the Bible is not only read in churches, but dug up in the soil of nations. These lands witnessed the footsteps of Abraham, the prayers of David, the exile of Israel, and the rise and fall of empires. The stories of the Bible are not just tales told in dimly lit rooms. They are etched into landscapes, monuments, and ruins that still breathe with memory. For believers, these are sacred confirmations. For historians, they are bridges to humanity's earliest struggles of faith, power, and survival. Biblical archaeology is not about proving or disproving faith. It is about the dialogue between stone and scripture, between earth and heaven. It asks us not only what we believe, but why we believe. The sands of time may cover kingdoms, but they cannot silence truth. Every shard, every scroll, every stone is a whisper, reminding us that faith and history are forever intertwined. The Bible is more than words on fragile parchment. It is a living map etched across deserts, mountains, and rivers. And archaeology is its companion, uncovering truths that transcend time. As long as the earth holds its secrets, the search will go on. For in the dust of ancient ruins lies the eternal dialogue between faith and history,